ready.
The last time I saw this view was about 18 years ago.
Welcome to Anchorage.
I'm Scott Newsome, Eddie Bauer guide from Revelstoke, British Columbia. Owner, operator, and guide at Eagle Pass Heli-skiing. Proud partner of Eddie Bauer. Bam! As a young guide, I worked at several different operations: heli-skiing, cat skiing, splitboard guiding. I mean, you can even ask some of my oldest friends. It's something that I've always said that I wanted to do, was to own my own heli snowboarding business. The ACMG was a little bit more reluctant with the snowboarder guides till Craig Kelly had kind of come in and already broken down that barrier. It's just unfortunate that he was killed before he was actually able to take the exam. The ACMG still had their reserves, if a snowboarder could actually guide safely in the mountains, and the splitboard obviously has allowed the snowboard guide to flourish. Whistler was the place to be as a young aspiring snowboarder. I was already snowboarding professionally from the time I was 16 years old. So it was just a natural progression for me to move to Whistler. That was where the scene was, where everything was happening at that point in time. 1997, I broke my leg really bad. And a bad injury like that, just meant basically that I lost my sponsorships. It kind of makes you think about having to, do something different with your life. At that point, I was offered a job to come to Revelstoke and start working for my uncle and to come work as a tail guide at powder skiing. So for us, it was kind of like winning the lottery as far as when we got out of Whistler and we moved to Revelstoke. All of a sudden, things were a lot cheaper, save money for, things like snowmobiling, skiing, getting heli drops up on the local mountains and stuff like that. It's somewhere that you could actually, think about laying roots down, buying a house, having a family. The first time I went to Valdez, I was 18 years old. There was no cell phones back then or no digital cameras. Really surreal, when they're handing you back the Polaroid picture of, oh, here's your picture. You got a Polaroid picture, and basically they kicked you out at the top of the mountain and said, good luck. Here you go. First time I came back from Valdez, it was, it was like, whew, one of those. You're like, oh, did I really just pull that off? Valdez was always something that I always wanted to go back to, and I always felt that I would be going back there every year for the rest of my life consecutively. I really just miss that part of the world, somewhere that is like no other, on the face of this planet. The Valdez Mountains and the way that they're just formed is absolutely incredible.
Newsome hit me up in October and he's like, man, I got this idea for this trip. Would you want to go? And normally I'm working right now. And
I'm healthy. I feel super strong. I'm excited to go back and ride those mountains.
And I was just like, heck yeah, I would love to take the time off work to get to come up here and ride with Newsome in the Chugach Mountains.